Over the span of your all's ministry, your love has had to stretch so wide across hundreds of people. And as it has stretched so wide, it has always remained deep. Those of us on the receiving end have never felt like your love is shallow. For 30 years, I have felt like I am the most important. You love me the most. You care about me the most. But I'm not alone. There are many people who feel like they are the most important to you, that you love them the most. On behalf of all of us who feel this way, thank you. Our lives are forever changed.
Nana and Grandy's house is my favorite place to be.
Grandy helped me learn how to swim. Nana pulled my front tooth. Nana helped me with my first twisted ankle.
I love you.
You guys are awesome.
Miss Molly lets us play games. Bob is a very good preacher. Molly teaches us good Bible verses. I love you. Miss Molly is the greatest. Molly, you're the best Wednesday night teacher I've ever had.
Mr. Bob baptized me.
I love them!
Bob Amert baptized me.
Molly taught me in Wednesday night.
Nana and Grandy always come to my sports and school events. They make me feel so loved.
Nana and Grandy are the main reason I have a house full of cousins during the holidays, and I love them very much.
Miss Molly taught me all the important lessons in the Bible. Nana Molly was the first one to greet me when I came to this church. Mr. Bob came and saw me in the hospital the day that I was born.
So the first time we came to our church, the first person that actually met us here was Bob and Molly. And she said, "Hello, welcome, sweetheart, and welcome to our church, and come in my class."
Hey, Nana and Grandy. I just want to let you guys know that I love you so much and everything you do, and such great influences you are in my life, and just want to let you guys know that I love you.
Molly teaches us good Bible lessons.
Miss Molly taught us good Bible lessons about Jesus.
Miss Molly, you taught us all the fruits of the Spirit. Miss Molly is really sweet, and Mr. Bob is funny.
My grandparents have always loved me, so I love them for that.
Bob and Molly are the best preachers. Miss Molly baptized me.
Mr. Bob's sermons were really good. Nana and Grandy are proof that God's way is the best way.
When I grow up, I want to be just like Nana and Grandy.
Bob took me to a classroom and prayed with me before I preached my very first sermon.
Bob married us in 2004.
Grandy's biscuits and Nana's sausage balls. That's really all that needs to be said.
I had cancer, and but even before I knew, there were health problems coming up, and Bob was my boss, the best boss, by the way, but I had to tell him, and also he's my preacher, so he needed to know. But I was at work, and I said, "Bob, this is going on. We're super scared. We don't know what's happening." Immediately, he drops to his knees and puts his hands on my shoulder and just starts praying for me right there. No chit chat about it, just drops and does it. And it just meant the world to me. I just cried. I just felt the love, definitely. And then, of course, he continued to be there with me all along. He was there in the prep room when they're wheeling me out to surgery. He was there. He was there when I was recovering in the hospital room. And of course, Molly sent a big basket of goodies to keep us happy. But it really, really touched me and meant more than he'll ever know. And I know that he has done that for countless people, and that everyone probably has a story similar where tough times happened and Bob is there.
So one night we got a call from the local hospital here, and they said, we have a newborn baby who doesn't have a home, and we think that you might be that home. And of course they said yes, yes. And they said, we'll let you know in the morning. We were all very excited through the night. And the next morning they called and said, you've got a baby boy. I call Bob and Molly, and I say, tell them the story, and then I say, call the church family. So by afternoon, the hospital room was full of people. They were lined up around the wall. And we were all holding the baby. And you could only hold the baby for maybe a minute because it had to be passed to the next person, because they were saying, you know, you're infringing on my time of holding the baby. And in November of 1998, they got the phone call from the adoption agency that they had the little girl ready in Romania for them. So they took off to Romania, and she came back with them the 27th day of November, which that year was the day after Thanksgiving. So they arrived in America with this little girl that could not speak a word of English, and we could not speak a word of Romanian. We arrived at the airport. We had balloons and stuffed animals and dolls and books. We didn't want to overpower her, of course. So who was there? Bob and Molly and the church family. A whole lot of the church family came to the airport to see her. And that's how Alexandra arrived in America, the Alexandra that you all know and love, and we are so very proud of her. The sad part was he got sick one evening, and we wound up in the emergency room and finally on into Knoxville. And the doctor walked in and told us that he had just a few weeks to live. We had no idea that he was sick. He didn't have any idea he was sick. So of course, immediately we called Bob and Molly, and they came right to us and stayed and walked with us through that difficult year of losing him. And the church family just stood right by us. And another really sad memory was when Gregory called and said, Mom, get to Jefferson City Hospital as quickly as you can. Riley has coded, and I'm in Knoxville, and I'm on my way. When I got there, Bob met me at that emergency room door. And so the next few days that Riley lived, Bob and Molly stayed with us, and the church family was there, and they all went with us through that journey. The only thing I can say of how they have impacted me is they have always been there. I've always depended on them. So I would just have to say thank you, Bob and Molly, for always being there, and I love you.
So when Bob got close to the end of his full-time ministry, the church administration wanted to make this video to kind of let the congregation know what was about to happen, and they asked me if I would write Bob's dialogue for that video. And I wanted to make sure not only that I got the information accurate, but that I used language that would be natural for Bob to say. So I scheduled a meeting with him, which is a little bit awkward if you think about it, to get someone to talk about what they've done for the last 30 years or whatever. But if you've ever had a conversation with Bob, you already know that this meeting was nothing like that. Bob was able to talk humbly and gracefully about the amazing work that's happened here, and how excited he is about the people who are about to start doing that work without him being in charge of things. And that really was no surprise to me, because I've always, from when we first started coming to church here, I've always been amazed just how kind and gracious Bob is. I've told him actually that he is one of the kindest men that I've ever met in my entire life. When we first started coming to church here and we would hear him preach, the sermons weren't necessarily different in regards to the topic area or maybe even the conclusions that he drew. But I'd never heard teaching that was so full of grace and kindness and love. And that's a large part of what made us want to keep coming to church here.
During the darkest night, I called to God to come near. At my door there was a knock. I let Bob in. For a very long time, I've associated this painting with Bob. He is a skilled instrument wielded by the hand of the master.
Bob and Molly have been a lot to Pam and I in the past. I mean, we've got a 30-year relationship with them. Everybody's heard me share the stories of Bob and Molly, and every major decision in our lives, Bob and Molly were somehow involved in that decision and counseling us and leading us in that. And I've shared with some folks that have asked me about this Bob's retirement and everything, how I felt about that. And I'm excited for Bob. I'm excited for Molly to start this new chapter in their life that they deserve to move on to. And I'm looking forward to them having that opportunity. But Pam and I are really looking forward to our relationship with them evolving to a different relationship, to this relationship of hiking together, of going out to eat some together, to moving to the next phase of our life with them and celebrating the past of what they've done for us, but moving toward this new relationship and this new future with Bob and Molly.
They're family. They're fun. They're what's fun in family. They are down to earth, real. They're the people that you sit and think, I could sit over there and tell stories all night. I could sit in that couch. I could huddle up. Molly will bring the food out. Bob will tell the stories. She won't let your drinks get low, and the food keeps coming and everything else. And it's just comfortable. They make you feel instantly comfortable walking into the house, instantly comfortable in the church, instantly comfortable in their presence. And I think that's what's so endearing about them, is that they are genuinely real. That's not an act. That's not play. They'll beat you to the hospital on every visit. They'll come to see you. They make you feel important, like you're the most important person, but they are just, they're family. It's family, and it feels like family.
And it was that day from day one. When we were 18 years old, walked in that church, or the first time we ever went to Bob and Molly's house, you were welcomed in, and it's been that way from day one. It's never changed with them. It's always been the same.
Hey, Uncle Bobby and Aunt Molly. We want to just take a minute and thank you guys for the countless hours you have spent praying with us and for us, and just all the encouragement you have given our family over the years.
Yeah, we can really recognize the influence you've had in our lives by the way that we now commit our family to being invested in the church and the priority we make on our marriage.
And obviously how wonderful we are doing as parents, raising our precious, perfect children.
I remember late one night in August of '87, and then again early the next morning. We've come to Jefferson City, have a moving van to unload, and this man shows up to help us, and it ended up being Bob Emmert.
I'd have to say that I eventually told Bob that we would have come to the Christian church anyway, even if he hadn't helped us move in. But I'm also pretty sure that I waited till after he'd helped us move in before I told him that. Sorry, Bob. Of course, the Emmerts had the pool in the back.
They were very generous in sharing the pool.
Yeah.
And I believe it was Molly who taught our kids to swim.
I believe it was me who taught our kids to swim, but it's Molly's special day, so that's fine. Molly, thank you for teaching our kids to swim. Yeah. Grace Ann and Rebecca were the two best babysitters in the world. Loved our kids, took care of them. I remember one time Rebecca showed up at our house. We were in the backyard messing around, and Rebecca showed up at our house because she had seen Seth in the top of our pine tree and was afraid that he had just gotten loose and was up in the top of the tree and we didn't know about it. So Yeah, they were very attentive to our kids, even when they weren't babysitting. And then John and Luke worked together to help teach our kids Melissa and Seth, to ride their bikes, to roller skate.
They shared their dog with us, Mary. Such a good dog.
I miss Mary.
And we had mountain picnics. We had camping trips. Can barely remember those, but together we took the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade Sunday school class that Greg and I were teaching for at least one night, maybe even 2 nights in Cades Cove. And then there was a time when just our 2 families camped overnight in Cades Cove. Thank you for the memories. Yeah. Those 8 years that we lived on the same street were really special.
Yeah. I'd say it's been 30 years, let's do 30 more. Then call it quits.
30 and we're done.
And 30 and we're done.
60, that's my limit.
Don will be
Don.
What's his name? Blooper.
Who's this guy we're talking about?
Bob. Yeah. After 30 more years, Bob will be 150, and I'll be 60. So, yeah, let's do about 30 more.
Okay. This is not about you.
It's not.